Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday afternoon. It's Gila Kurtz here, co-founder and co-owner of Dog is Good, a lifestyle brand for dog lovers, and my lovely guest today, Noel Russell, and maybe her husband Johnny will be on, but also maybe her doggies, Lotsie and Finn, who are so inspirational in terms of how Noel and Johnny actually live their lives and the impact that they make in the world in a very positive way. And so we're going to get a chance to talk to them about those things. And one of the reasons why I'm super excited about talking with Noel today is because I really love to embrace how living life with dogs can make such a difference, not only for ourselves, but for the people and the community that we live in. And when you really design your life in the way that you want to and do activities that bring you joy and re-energize you and excite you, it gives you the fuel and the energy to share with others and make a difference. And that's exactly what Noel does. So we'll get a chance to meet her in just a second. But before we do, of course, I want to welcome all of you as you pop in. Please say hello and let me know where you're from. And also, please, share what kind of dog you have. We always want to know about that. And today, because Noel and her crew, Johnny and the pups, are avid campers and just, outdoor enthusiasts, we have, of course, the perfect giveaway for this week, which is your Never Camp Alone socks and your Never Camp Alone tote bag. This is an awesome tote bag, actually. Very, very nice. So please. Hey, Jen! I can't wait to have you here on Friday. Please enter to win, and you can get those, and then you will find out who the winner is by joining the Dog is Good lifestyle group. It's a private group of dog lovers from all over the world, and we want to encourage you to join and connect with other like-minded folks there. And by the way, since Jen has popped in, I do want to say on Friday you can pick your dog up or not. I mean, I can't pick up Bola, but I can encourage her to sit on the couch with me. Pick her up and do some calming mutt meditation. That's what we're going to be doing on Friday. So, hi, Jessica. I'm so happy that you are here. I hope you are doing well. And anyway, so that's what we got going on. Friday, we got some mutt meditation. So take time out of your day for that with Jen. She's brilliant. She'll be coming to the office to do that with us. And sign up for to enter to win for your prize. And we're going to just dive on in and talk with Noel. Now, I wanted to have Noel share her story to you personally. I thought she would do a much better job than me reading her lovely bio. But so, Noel, thank you first and foremost for taking time out of your day to be with us, to be with our dog-loving fans. I really appreciate that.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So tell everybody who's viewing a little bit about you and the role that dogs have played in getting you to where you are today. Just a little background on you.
Yeah, so I always grew up with animals. I had like every species of being living in my house, and we grew up kind of in the middle of nowhere. And that's my husband.
Hi.
And so I always had animals around, and I had dogs and cats and whatnot. And it's a very important part of my life. And so I work at a shelter, and I think a lot of what resonates about caring for animals and being able to create space for beings that maybe don't have a place or deserve to find their place. It is the same reason why I do the work I do, and my husband does the work that he does. And we both work at two different shelters that serve different populations, but the same mission of really giving people a sense of home and or beings a sense of home, right? And so that's a lot of, I think, what we get to experience and enjoy about having rescue dogs, and also what we get to enjoy about our experience at work.
Oh, I love that. And I can't wait to share what you guys do, because it's, it just makes the world go round. All this, I believe so wholeheartedly that there's this circle of life called people helping dogs helping people. And you guys epitomize that in what you do on a daily basis, and certainly the role that your dogs have played for you in your own life. Let's start with your doggies, because you guys have a great video on the dodo. And if you guys haven't seen that yet, just go to it so you can watch it.
Oh, one of them's barking. Can we...
I think there's a few dog lovers here that don't mind barking.
Okay.
And I can talk through barking, screaming, crying children. I don't know. I get very focused, so no worries. So you have Lotzi and Finn. Let's talk about how they came into your life first, because they really are the inspiration behind a lot of what you guys currently do today.
Yeah. So Lotzi, we found her at a shelter. She was at her third rescue. She had been put on the euthanasia list at the 2 prior rescues. She was a stray that was picked up. And thankfully, at the second rescue she was at, a truck driver saw her photo on the list and asked the shelter if they could come pull her and bring her to another rescue in Los Angeles, which is where we lived at the time. And so we met her 2 weeks after she was pulled, and she was overlooked. In fact, when I called the shelter, to be honest, they were saying, like, she's probably not a good fit. She's really shy. She's really quiet. She doesn't like to move a lot. She kind of just cowers in her crate, and that's all she does. And we were looking for a dog that would go hiking with us and running with us. And so I said, well, I want to see her. So she was the one I came for. And so they asked me to meet a couple other, and then they introduced me to Lotzi. And Lotzi, I knew from the second that I decided to take her for a little walk around the block, and I knew when she looked up at me, just into like we jogged because I wanted to see if she'd jog with me. And literally like a minute into it, she looked up at me, and I was like, okay, that's done. We can turn around now. And so we took that day. I ended up not going back to work. I actually went to go get her at my meet her at my lunch break, and then that was that. And we ended up bringing her home that night, and she weighed nothing, and she was kind of a mess, I think, from spending so much time in shelters. And she was scared of everything and everyone. And I was actually pretty sure she probably wasn't going to hike with us because she was terrified of like trees, which is the weirdest thing to be scared of because they're everywhere. And she ended up coming to life on the trail, and really, you could see her self-confidence build as we spent the night out, in the backcountry and spent more time traveling. And that is definitely her happy place. She does okay at home, but she's 10 and a half now, and she seems like 10 and a half. She seems like an older dog when she's at home. And then the second we get out into the wilderness, she seems like she's 2.
So, it's kind of interesting as I'm hearing you share this story. There's so many parallels, and I'll share with our audience now because we'll talk a little bit more about it later. But you work with the Covenant House in California, Bay Area, right?
Yes.
And so I can see so many parallels through the conversation in terms of working with these youth who are homeless and these dogs who are homeless as well. So when you first called, what was it in her picture that attracted you to her?
She has one ear that flops down and one that was straight up. And she was also at a German Shepherd rescue, and she's not a German Shepherd. And so there was those two things set her. She seemed like a dog that would maybe get overlooked. She wasn't one of those striking German Shepherd dogs, and she had this wonky ear. And I loved both things about her, that she was just kind of a ragtag beast. So that's what I loved.
Yeah, and what I found interesting as you were sharing the story is, and I know that all the people who volunteer and work at humane shelters and animal shelters across the country, they are just so committed to finding the right homes for the right dogs and families and making that match that's going to be made forever. But I find it interesting because this happens in life all the time where people, we prejudge whether it's an animal, we prejudge a person based on their appearance, or they're, maybe assuming someone's shy, just thinking they've got some bad news and they're quiet in a particular moment. So there's all this conversation that always goes on that gets projected on to the animal or to the person. And I was curious to know, like, did you feel frustrated? Like, I just want this dog, and yet they're showing you all these other animals. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the dogs they showed me were really awesome and lovely and happy, and I'm sure they would probably be an easy yes for a lot of people that were coming in to meet them. But exactly like you said, I mean, there's a lot that goes into how I think we present, and a lot of that sometimes isn't the best part of our lives that inform that behavior or just our disposition or the way that we're perceived. And so I think that I did feel strongly that Lotzi had another side of her that we didn't see, and that she deserved the time and space to find herself and be supported in that, which I feel like every human being deserves. Like we can work through a lot when we have a safety net around us, which is relationships. And so she just needed people to sit with her while she cowered from everything until she realized nothing was worth cowering from. And now she's like fearless. I mean, she's like, anybody who's watching right now, like if you came over to her house, she'd go home with you. Like she just thinks everyone's the best. So it's a great, great change from what she used to be.
It is. And it's such a perfect match too, because clearly she felt both of your energy, right? And again, I'm going to draw the parallel between people. Sometimes it takes someone else believing in us more than we believe in ourselves to bring out the best in what we have to offer. And clearly that's the case with Lotzi. So, she had these obvious fears that you had to work through those. I mean, I can't imagine that one day she just decided she was going to go hiking. But what was that process, and how did you begin to acclimate her? Because you both are so active. And I loved the part in the video where you said, and you in that picture, like I get so emotional over all these things, but I was like starting to cry last night going, oh my gosh, because when you said, like, she just came to life, like in that moment. I mean, that must have been miraculous for you to see. What was the journey leading up to that? How long did that take, and how did you prepare for that?
Yeah, so that was after a couple of backpacking trips. We started small with Lotzi. So it was literally walking out the front door and down the street for weeks. We jokingly say that every time we adopt a dog, we go out to lunch and dinner a lot because it's a really great way to socialize, and it's also a great way to not cook. But like, it's great to have a lot of, we can get to the point where we're at home and we create a safe space that maybe is too comfortable, and we're not really empowering so many opportunities to stretch and grow for our fur relatives. And so it's really important for us to find ways, but also not just like people, right? Don't push too hard. Like it's a slow process, and that process is so different for every being. And so for Lotzi, it took a long time, and it was a matter of walking down the streets and then going out on the trail and turning around and coming back and then going out a little bit farther. And then I remember the day I took her off leash, and I was like so excited because she was such a scared dog, and I was scared always to take her off leash, but I could see her walk so much more confidently and boldly at that point, and I knew that it was time to trust a relationship. And then, that one day we took her out to John Muir Wilderness, and she came up to this lake that has this great sandy shore, and she lost her mind. And it was the happiest. It's her favorite. It's her favorite trail. I mean, she hustles up that trail faster than any of us, and she'll take herself right to that lake still this day. So it was really exciting.
That's so cool, and so appropriate for the John Muir Trail, right?
Yes.
I'm leaning over because I'm petting my giant lab that I can't. Hitting my arm, like, hey, you're talking to somebody and not paying attention. No, that's so wonderful. And so I can see where the whole issue around trust, when we trust wholeheartedly, and just to watch her go on that journey, and I would imagine, I'm just kind of picturing her walking with you with her floppy ear and her ear upright and looking at you and just kind of knowing, like, okay, I'm pretty sure you got me. I'm pretty sure you got me, my back, so to speak. And then just that moment in which all that melds together, and she's like, yeah, they got me. Yeah, that's really cool.
I think the cool thing that kind of surprised me is that Lotzi and I probably spent the first 5 years of our relationship hiking together alone a lot. And we got to the point where I couldn't hike without, I could hike without her. But I looked to her for confidence too. When I was too tired or it was too cold or there was, you're out in the middle of nowhere and sometimes you worry about things, but she was so confident. And so I could follow her and felt really good that like we're okay because we like got each other. And so that like I don't know what hiking without her is like anymore. And that's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. Okay, so added to the family, we have the beautiful Finn as well, who has a great little story too. So
Yeah.
Introduce her and how she got integrated into the family and how Lotsie played a role in that process too. And then let's move on and talk about how they affect you guys and how you guys end up affecting others in the work that you do.
Yeah. So Finn showed up at our house. She showed up at our house at around 3 a.m. in October 3 years ago. There was a lot of whimpering outside, and thankfully she woke me up. And I walked outside, and it was freezing. We lived in the mountains at the time, and she was cowered underneath our van against the tire. And I talked to her for about 20 minutes, and she whimpered throughout the entire time nonstop. And after 20 minutes, I was out in my underwear. I was like, I said out loud, I'm going to grab you now. Please don't bite me. I'm really cold. And so I grabbed her. And the second I picked her up, she started wagging her tail. And I probably didn't want to admit to myself at that moment, but I was totally done. Like she was my dog. But we brought her inside and I had to end up bathing her like 3 or 4 times. She had mites and ticks and fleas and she hadn't eaten. And she was I'd say she had like 75% less hair than she has now because she had the beginning of mange. So that next morning I took her, she was cleaned up. Johnny had woken up and Lotsie had woken up and he said, where are you taking her? I said, to the Humane Society, to see so that she can find a home. And he said, so you don't think that like this could be her home? I said, no, we're not small dog people. And he said, okay. And so I drove her to the Humane Society and she curled up on the driver's seat. And when I pulled up, I looked down at her and I just started bawling. And I called Johnny and I couldn't say anything because I was crying so hard. And so there was just dead noise on the other end. And he said, hello, hello. And then he was quiet and he said, you can come home now with her if you want. And I said, okay.
What your husband? So great.
Yeah, so she wasn't, just so everyone knows, she was, we had her on a 5-day hold there. They had her add up. She was on, they scanned her to see if she had a chip. She had nothing. The vets assessed that she probably had been on the street since she was a puppy. She was about 9 months at the time, and there was no sign of any care. And so after 5 days, we could officially call her ours.
So great. I mean, it just speaks to the compassion that you both have. It's so obvious. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about your guys' life. Like, you have so much fun living and enjoying what the whole earth has to offer.
Yeah.
Tell us about that and how you make time for that, because this is, everybody's busy, right? It's almost like a badge of honor that a lot of people wear. I'm so busy.
Yeah.
And yet there's opportunity really to schedule in. If you have to schedule it, you've got to do it. So what is it that you guys do that creates this peace and the lifestyle that you guys have in terms of the adventures and the road trips and the hanging out and just enjoying what life does have to offer for you too?
Yeah, so I think it's all about trying to find balance. We both work in organizations that can be, we can say we're busy 100% of the time because they're residential facilities and you can literally never stop working. But we don't want to be that, right? We want to be people that have somewhat balance. I say that knowing that we both still work 50 to 60 hours a week. But when we have downtime, it's important, I think, to physically pull ourselves away from some of those distractions that might pull us back into, you can potentially always be working, right? And so to get out into the mountains, to get out to the coast, to go hike a trail for the day, I think is one, a reset, and two, really a grounding experience to remind us that we are a small part of something very big, that there's a lot of good in the world, and that we have a choice to either usher that goodness into the lives of people who deserve it most and animals that deserve it most, or not. And I think that being outside really helps put that in perspective, because the world is so beautiful and we are so small, and that should be something I think that motivates us to do the most we can.
That is so good. And I feel like that's such a great mind. My personal time, and so in playing up in that how reset where you're working and drive and you need to do the work that can be you're serving yourself first, but you're to show up for others. Let's go to that, because you guys both do have very emotionally deep jobs, right? So talk to us a little bit about the work, the Covenant House of California. First, share with our audience, what that organization is. You both don't work for the same one, though, right?
No, yeah. Jonathan works at
Bay Area Rescue Mission.
Yeah, so he works at Bay Area Rescue Mission. I work at Covenant House, California.
Okay, so tell us about those organizations and what their focus is and what you do to support them.
Yeah, so I work at Covenant House, California, and we provide shelter and supportive services for young people ages 13 to 24. And we have two separate shelters, one for minors and one for young adults. And so we do everything from case management to therapeutic support to transitional housing and emergency shelter. We provide job skills training and also educational support. So we do everything that these kids deserve and that their parents weren't able to provide for them. That's what we do.
Okay.
And Jonnie?
I work at a similar shelter that serves the same, offers a lot of the same resources, but to a different, a broader demographic. So while Noel Shelter works with transitional age youth, we serve families, so women and children of all ages, and then also single men of all ages. So adults, adult individuals from 18 to 80, and then also
Not to 80, like to forever, but like they have 80-year-olds.
That's the phrase. We have 80 plus,
Yeah.
a whole range. So we work more. It's more of adult, but then also a family center. So separate facilities, about 250 individuals a night.
Wow. Okay. Are they this long-term care for them, like where they're staying long-term as a resident, or is it a where they come in and go out?
So residential for both of us. So both short-term and long-term services.
Sure, Emma,
Are more the short-term services at our shelter are more kind of emergency relief services for folks that are here from 60 to 90 to 120 days, receiving some case management support, and the long-term programs, including addiction recovery programs, include a little bit more of that extensive kind of holistic resources, including life skills, including kind of addiction recovery topics, and then just really up to 2 to 3 years of folks kind of restabilizing, kind of rebuilding life, rebuilding community connection, and then transitioning on to permanent housing.
Oh, such important work. How did you guys get involved in that? Like, had you is that your background in education, or was that just something that you fell into and you felt a calling? What brought you to these types of serving others in this way?
So that is an interesting question, because I think both of us, we probably both wanted to do, we both have always held the values that we use every day in our work, but we didn't actually start off doing this work. So I was a fashion designer for 10 years. And Jonathan was a professional musician who toured all over the world for 10 years. And we both, right around the same time in our lives, came to this realization that there were greater needs that weren't being served that we could serve using the gifts that we already had. And of course, we had a lot to learn. So we both quit our jobs within a year of each other. We both quit our jobs, and Jonnie started working at a continuation school for reentry youth and also youth who were at risk or struggling in school or were foster youth. And I started working at a from the ground up at a foster family agency, helping families at risk of losing their children to the system. And so doing like wraparound care and supportive services. And so we both started from scratch in completely different industries, and we've been doing that ever since. And Jonnie went to school and now is finishing his PhD, and I didn't go to school again because I hate school, but I spent a lot of time working my butt off to try to learn an entire system of care that was relatively foreign to me. So I knew that foster care existed. I knew that reentry populations struggled. I knew that homelessness was an issue, but I felt like I didn't know why and what and how, and so that's been a really awesome challenge to learn the ins and outs of that world and how we can fit in and help.
So many people are sitting in their desk at work today or at home on the couch feeling disenchanted with the direction that they're going in, and have this knowledge that there's something bigger inside of them that they should be doing. And yet the piece that holds most individuals back is that fear, or I don't know how. How did you guys push through that? Because even though it's something that you wanted, and obviously you're action takers clearly, there's always that element of fear. How did you guys push through the unknown and just move forward? And what would you say to others who are, sitting there having that same conversation with themselves? Like, I know there's got to be something more. I talk to a lot of women who feel that way, and yet they find themselves stuck in that same conversation, unable to just push through and move on to the next thing. It could be, as you were just saying, oh, I don't know enough, or I'm going to have to go back to school, and there's all the buts, and can't, all the reasons. What would you say to that?
I mean, I personally come from the perspective that we are good at things and enjoy things that we should be doing. So I think that we're naturally born into the world with gifts and passions and things that excite us and bring pleasure to us. And chances are that's what you'd be really good at for a long time. And so I think that it's important to lean into that. And whether that means starting out baby steps and volunteering somewhere, or taking one class, or getting to know somebody in that field or in that role, and asking questions and befriending them. I think that those are all great steps to, we had a variety of those. We had friends in nonprofit that spent time sharing with us. I volunteered a crap ton before I ended up working for an agency. So we were able to start doing it. I think that's the thing, right? Like, just earlier today, someone was saying, I just don't know where to start. Like, when you're trying, you're already doing it. So just try, right? Just start doing it, and then that's it. Now you're doing it, and you can, I think, learn to where you can grow and where you can flourish and where you might have challenges or barriers that you need to work through. But I think it's just that, just starting by trying.
Such great input there. And also the parallel going back to Lotzi, those baby steps. Sometimes there's this, what makes people stuck, unfortunately, is this feeling that they have to be doing what's way over there. The big picture vision of what they want versus taking those smaller steps to walk down the street first, and then the trips to the restaurant, and then small journeys to get acclimated, and also to gain their own confidence and belief in, oh, I got this, right? And then to have a believe and support them along that way too. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
What parallels do you draw from your dogs as you're working to help the families and the residents of these homes, in terms of what you saw early on as you rescued your dogs, and what you see in your vocation with the individuals who are first entering? What parallels do you see, and do you draw from that to help these individuals, and how has that worked in terms of helping these people progress forward in the way that they need to?
I'll answer first, and then I'll let Jonnie go. I think for me, it's kind of back to what you said, that success, we sometimes define success as like, we look at climb up a mountain and we say getting to the top of that peak is success, right? In life, we say getting that job or getting that house like that, then I'll have succeeded. But every step along the way is wild success. And I think in the work that we do, to have kids come into my shelter and trust people enough to ask for help, to have them sleep through the night, to have them say yes to therapy, for Lotzi to walk down the street or eat with a person around, which was a scary thing. Like all these things, those are wild success. And then when you're focusing on that and celebrating that, it's not about the mountaintop. You might not get there. And it still can be the most wildly successful trip you've ever made because of how much you've overcome along the way and how much you've learned. And so I think that that's what's exciting or super, inspiring about spending time with our animals and realizing what measures, how to recalibrate success and how to measure it in our lives and in the lives of the beings that we choose to live with and in the lives of people that we serve every day. Like sometimes getting out of bed every day, like you did it. And that's cool. And so, and people deserve to hear that, right? And so I think that's, for me, that's really kind of how they parallel or intersect.
From a totally different angle, to connect this with your previous question, I almost, less so connecting our dogs and their experience to the guests we serve now, I connect Lotzi's experience of needing someone, particularly Noel, to help her step into that discomfort to become more comfortable in situations. That's kind of similar to what I learned I need to step into unknown situations in my own life, particularly in the transition to this work. That like Lotzi, I need people outside myself to help me actually walk into that discomfort. By discomfort, I mean the unknown. When I transitioned into this work, it really was because Noel could tell in the current context it was way too comfortable for me. I was potentially jaded already, and I thought I knew everything coming where I came from in the world. So stepping into homeless services in the context of Skid Row in downtown LA where I work was so discomforting to me because it was the unknown. It ended up being unbelievably life-giving because it changed me. It gave me perspective where I realized how little I actually knew. But it was through the prodding of someone else kind of pulling that leash that helped me realize I can walk into this and really be changed and be better for it. And so in a lot of ways, I feel kind of like Lotzi, where the being pulled into something by someone and knowing that you need other people to do it is ultimately a really empowering and freeing way to live. And so for people transitioning, to connect it to the past question, it's being willing to accept that discomfort and the people in your lives that are calling you to that, lovingly helping you embrace that. That's a big analogy for me in terms of how you grow in life and how you embrace these things.
That's such a great analogy. So true. And sometimes it's interesting. We sometimes need someone to pull us along just enough, provide that support to get us over that edge and into new horizons. So that's great. I'm so impressed with you guys. And I know, and you mentioned, and you were a musician previously. So my team, I'm sorry, I don't listen to the radio that much. But they did play your song, and I was like, oh yeah, I do know that song. So thank you for that. It's my great crew that works here. I've got such an awesome team, and they're always trying to keep me, up to date on stuff. So thanks for that. Okay, so another question I have for both of you. Actually, I have three questions as we're getting ready to wrap up. Well, first I want to ask you this: where can people go to learn more about where you work, and how can they support those organizations or your efforts if they choose to?
So covenanthouseCalifornia.org is our website, and we need volunteers to do every single thing under the sun. Like if you can think it, we need that. Yes, already. So anyone can log in to check out the website and shoot us an email and let us know what you want to do or if you have any questions.
Same thing in terms of needs. I think that those go across the board for most homeless shelters.
Yeah.
Our website is bayarearescue.org. Same thing. That's the best avenue into learning more about our services.
And surprisingly, dog shelters, like animal shelters and homeless shelters, a lot of what we need that people don't recognize are the same things, right? Like blankets, towels, socks, underwear. So a lot of these basics that often get overlooked: shampoo, dog shampoo, human shampoo. So I think that that they align a lot in those ways too. So I think thinking even just of the most basics, that people can help a lot.
Okay, that's fantastic. We're going to put all those links in here so people can access that. I was just trying to type it in, but for some reason it's not joining into the comments. But Stephanie, I'm sure, will take care of that for us. Okay, so a couple of fun questions for you both, and I'd love for you both to answer. What is the greatest lesson that you have learned from your dog?
To chill out. That's Lotu's like the queen of chill, and I am not. So she's helped me with that.
Yeah. Aside from be pulled into discomfort because it's gonna help you grow, which I still need to learn every day. Noel can testify. I think for me, it's being present in the moment, and I unlike Noel, don't have nearly as much broad, long-term life, my whole life experience, having deep and meaningful relationships with animals. So for me, it's a lot of the newness of realizing just how present in a moment and saturated in an experience, and willing to just draw all the joy out of it, and that is an essential part of what living is that I experience every day, especially with this little one, Finn. Just how excited and playful and fun to be present like that. I don't always live that way, but that gives me a lot of perspective to learn to.
Yeah, and I think sometimes some of these lessons that we learn, it's just being aware of it. We're human, so we're not going to always live so authentically and purely as our dogs do. But the lessons they do share with us make us cognizant, so we can kind of catch ourselves when we're off from those moments. One of the things I'm noticing about you two, which I absolutely love, and I'm sure you've heard this from others, is, and I have no idea how long you guys have been married, but the philosophy that I believe very strongly in is you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And clearly your core values as human beings is so in alignment. It's really nice to see how you communicate that with each other and outwardly. I mean, I know in any relationship it's never perfect, so trust me, I get that. But I'm just saying overall, and it's a reminder to all of us that we spend time with our dogs because they do provide us all this unconditional love and a presence that we cannot get from any human creature at all. But at the same time, it's so important to really select who we choose to be in our pack, because those are the ones that help to lift us up and move us forward. So I just wanted to comment on that because it's really, I just see this connection there, and in the way that you guys share your values, it's just really nice. Okay, so super fun. I'm gonna actually do this one a little differently. I usually ask people, I like to ask people, like, if you were any dog breed, what would you be? But this is what I want to ask this question. What would you say, Noel, what breed would you say Jonnie is, or Jonathan, I don't know which you prefer, and vice versa?
I would say Jonnie would be a mini pin. Because the character traits are like spot on, and also he thinks
jumping, excitement.
And they
Snippy,
can be snippy, and also are like 100% sure they're actually just a Doberman, not a mini pin. So that's what.
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome. Okay, what would you say, Jonnie?
I honestly think Noel maps on to the big, unbelievably exuberant, excessively social, in a good sense, like golden doodle or something. Just that completely oriented towards other beings. My assumptions when I go in the dog park is that everyone not only is willing to be my friend, but already my friend, and I want to have a relationship with them, and it's not ever tiring. It's like the middle of the night and I'm still doing it. I think that's a good fit for Noel. What do you think, Noel? Is that pretty good?
I can totally see that. I can completely see that. All right, and then final question. Just fill in the blank, both of you, each independently. Dog is my.
I would say inspiration.
I'd say grounding.
Love it. Well, I cannot thank you enough. I would so you guys are in Northern California, right?
Yeah.
Okay. next time I get up there, I want to connect with you guys. I'd love to go hiking. And enjoy
Yes.
Sure. If you guys come back to LA, please connect with us here at Dog is Good. We'll go out for a whole group hike. My lab loves hiking too. She's awesome. She really
Awesome.
Yes.
We love that.
Oh, great. Well, I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. Thank you so much for the amazing work that you do to help others and for the life that you've given your own two rescue dogs and how they've been sharing the story of how they've inspired you and all the action you take. And to everybody out there, don't forget to enter to win your Never Camp Alone socks. I want to wear your socks. And then, of course, you got to take everything in your Never Camp Alone tote bag. And you can enter to win here. And then a final reminder that if you are not getting a weekly dose of inspiration from your very own dog, shame on you. You need to sign up for Fur Covered Wisdom because every week your dogs have so many things they want to share. And interestingly, they always share the right message at the right time when you need to hear it. So we'll put in the link for that too. And we invite you to share that with others if you currently are receiving that. We get a lot of great feedback on how much people enjoy them. And I know our dogs really, my dog anyway, Bolo, is working very hard regularly to provide me with lessons every single day to share with all of you. So with that, I want to thank you guys for viewing. Please share with your friends. Please look up both of the organizations that Noel and Jonnie work for. You consider donating or sharing their message with others. And have a great Wednesday afternoon. And join us on Friday when Jen comes into the office to do a little mutt calming meditation. So lovely. So enjoy that. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.